Discover the incredible journey. Grandma gives up her retirement to transform her son's future. Mary stood at her farmhouse kitchen window, hands wringing her apron as the early morning sun streamed in. In a small town like Maplewood, every sunrise felt like a promise, but today it brought a sinking feeling in her heart. Jake, her son, was returning from the military, but he wasn't the same boy who left. He came back a man burdened by unspeakable memories, haunted by shadows she wished she could erase. She remembered the last time she saw him smile, his laughter echoing in the fields they had worked together for decades. That boy was buried beneath layers of pain, and Mary needed to dig him back up. As the days passed, the challenges mounted like flour in her mixing bowl. Mary watched helplessly as Jake paced the farmhouse, restless and withdrawn. When he was diagnosed with PTSD, it felt like a bucket of ice water had been dashed over her. Every diagnosis was a brick laid on her chest. On top of that, Jake struggled financially, as dreams of a simple life turned into clouds of despair. Their family bakery, the heart of the community and her pride, was crumbling like a day-old croissant, and Mary knew she had to act. With a heart full of love and determination, Mary dusted off her old mixer, determined to transform their bakery into a thriving business once more. She poured her savings into the shop, the last funds she had for her dream of retirement. It didn't matter that neighbors whispered doubts behind her back. She's too old to bake. This is a foolish gamble. But she refused to let their skepticism crush her spirit. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With her heart racing, Mary filled the bakery with the sweet aroma of cinnamon rolls and chocolate chip cookies. The townsfolk began to return, some reminiscing about their childhood treats. They smiled but still held doubts. Flashes of support resided alongside whispers of "it'll never last." Through it all, Mary kept kneading the dough, pouring hope into every loaf. Yet with each success came moments of anxiety, especially as Jake fell deeper into isolation, guilt consuming him like vine chokeweed on the farm. At the annual county fair, surrounded by laughter and excitement, Mary found joy, pulling people into conversation and tasting their cherished family recipes. But as the night came alive, Jake retreated to the sidelines, lost in himself. Just when it seemed they were making progress, an unexpected health crisis knocked Mary off her feet. The weight of their bakery, their family, felt dangerously close to crumbling. As her friends stepped in, offering warmth and support, something remarkable happened. Unexpectedly, Jake began to open up, slowly confronting his demons. Together, they faced the overwhelming uncertainty. Each stubborn smile, each shared tear drew a bridge of healing between mother and son. In a heart-stopping moment of vulnerability, they stood face to face. Mary's unwavering love sparkled in her eyes, while Jake's stormy gaze met hers, alive with raw emotion. "I can't keep dragging you down, Mom," he choked out, voice trembling with uncertainty. "Come back to me, Jake," Mary whispered, her heart racing in sync with the spirit of the town surrounding them. And as the world witnessed their struggle, the question hung thickly in the air: could love truly conquer all? As the sun began to set over Maplewood, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Mary felt a shift in the air. There was an energy creeping into the bakery, a far cry from the anxious atmosphere that had shrouded it for weeks. They had spent countless hours facing the ghosts of their pasts, carefully navigating their way through the fog of unspoken fears. But tonight felt different. Mary could sense that something was about to break, either the chains that bound Jake or the heavy silence that had settled like dust in the bakery. Jake sat at the counter, swirling a half-empty cup of coffee, his thoughts racing. With every bite of the fresh pastries that piled high on the display, he was reminded of how far they had come, but also how fragile their progress felt. The sweet, warm aromas filled his senses, stirring long-forgotten memories of days spent laughing with his mom. Those memories were buried under scars and anger, but they were still there, waiting to be unearthed. Just then, the familiar sound of the bell above the bakery door chimed as the first customers of the evening trickled in. Mary glanced up, her heart fluttering at the sight of familiar faces from the community. They came in like bees to honey, drawn by the aroma, laughter spilling out like a warm invitation. Mary welcomed each of them with open arms, her smile infectious. "Don't forget the chocolate chip cookies, Mary. They're the best," called out Mrs. Thompson, the town's favorite school teacher. With a flicker of confidence, Jake stood up. He had spent too long in the shadows, letting his past dictate his future. He cleared his throat, drawing in the warmth of the bakery, the happiness echoing around him. "I'd happily give them a run for their money," he declared, surprising even himself. The laughter that followed felt like a weight lifting off his shoulders. There, amidst the chatter and clinking of glasses, Jake found a sliver of comfort. Mary's eyes sparkled at the sight of her son joining in. Her heart leaped, and she had to fight back tears of joy. "That's the spirit, Jake," she cheered, a new understanding flickering in her heart, but their moment of reprieve was short-lived. A customer approached the counter, a somber expression clouding his face. "I just heard about Mark," he said quietly, referring to a fellow veteran who had recently passed. The air thickened with unvoiced fears. Jake's resolve faltered as the reality of their losses crashed over him. Memories he had only begun to confront surged back to the surface, the weight he had carried since his return. Mary noticed Jake's face fall and rushed to his side, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We can't let the past define us. We have to honor Mark's memory, not just with sorrow but with the joy of living," she said, her voice steady and warm, a beacon in the storm. Jake nodded, the tightness in his chest easing slightly as he took a deep breath. He needed to honor not just Mark, but all of the moments he had missed while trapped in himself. Maybe the bakery wasn't just a business, it could be a lifeline. With a newfound determination, he turned towards the town. "Let us celebrate. For Mark. For us." His voice rang out, shaking off the residue of pain, inviting others to join the moment. The people around him responded, voices rising, clapping and smiling, joining in his call. As laughter filled the air once more, a new chapter began to unfurl for them both. But as Mary glanced at Jake, she couldn't help but wonder if this bravery could last. Could they continue to face their demons together? She could feel it fluttering in her chest like a caged bird desperate for freedom. The struggle was far from over, and with the winds of change swirling around them, the question hovered: would their fragile bond be enough to hold them together through the storm that loomed on the horizon? As the night deepened, the bakery glowed like a lighthouse in the darkness, drawing in more townsfolk eager for the warmth it promised. Laughter mingled with the sweet scent of cinnamon and sugar, wrapping around Jake like a comforting hug. He felt lighter somehow, as if each joyous moment was chipping away at the weight of his past. But even as the laughter echoed, whispers of Mark's absence brushed against him, a reminder of how real their struggles were. Mary moved through the crowd, her heart swelling with pride. She had witnessed this gradual transformation in Jake, the hesitant boy full of hurt slowly evolving into a man willing to embrace life. Tonight felt like a threshold, a moment that could define not just their relationship but their futures. "Have you tried the new blueberry tarts?" asked a young woman, delight gleaming in her eyes. "They're amazing." Her enthusiasm was infectious, and it made Jake smile. "Maybe I should join the pastry team," he joked, wiping a bit of flour dust off his apron. "You'd better watch it, we might put you to work." Mary winked, her laughter ringing through the air like chimes in a gentle breeze. But then, hovering in the back of Jake's mind, he couldn't shake the thought of Mark. The reality of friendships lost felt tangible in the air, and for a moment, it threatened to strangle the lightness around him. He glanced out the bakery window, spotting the faint outline of the trees lining Maplewood, and the sudden chill that rushed in sent a shiver down his spine. "Mind if I join you?" A familiar voice broke through his thoughts. It was Matt, another veteran and close friend of Mark's. His eyes were heavy with unshed tears, and Jake's heart sank at the sight. "Of course," he managed, motioning to a seat at the counter that was still warm from the last customer. The mood shifted slightly, the laughter around them dimming as quieter conversations resumed. Matt hesitated, and Jake could see the pain etched on his face. "You know, Mark always said he'd show us how to throw a proper party when he was gone," Matt said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Jake felt a lump in his throat. "He wouldn't want us to mourn. We should celebrate everything he gave us." "Yeah, but it's hard to think of that when all I feel is empty." Silence enveloped them, and the chatter around blurred as Jake absorbed his friend's words. That emptiness resonated deep within him, a familiar and echoing void that hinted at everything left unspoken. "I get it," Jake replied, his voice barely a whisper. "I've been living like that for too long." A flicker of understanding ignited in Matt's eyes, and Jake knew that they were on the edge of something. Perhaps this wasn't just a celebration, it was a recognition of everything they had endured together. "We need to support each other," Jake said, the intensity of his voice rising above the murmur of the bakery. "Us veterans? We have to keep going. For Mark and for ourselves." As he spoke, the passion in his voice resonated throughout the bakery. The energy began to shift again, redoubling the enthusiasm of the gathering, even as the shadows of loss loomed large. Mary watched her son, a sense of hope warming her heart as she recognized this moment of awakening. Each connection forged that night, every shared laugh, and every tear shed added a new layer to the cement of their family's foundation. But how would they face the uncertainty of tomorrow? As laughter echoed once more, she stood at the edge, wondering if their newfound courage could withstand the trials yet to come. As Jake noticed Matt slowly smiling, he couldn't help but wonder, could they truly transform their pain into something more, something that carried them forward? Would they have the strength for whatever lay ahead? The evening wore on, the bakery alive with the buzz of companionship. Laughter turned into shared stories, and each recounting brought a little more light into the hearts of those gathered. Jake had felt the weight of Mark's absence heavily throughout the night, but as he looked around, something inside him began to shift. "Let's raise a glass," called out someone from the back. A ragged cheer rose as people rummaged for cups and mugs, eager to toast to their shared memories. Jake felt an unexpected wave of gratitude. This moment, the tenderness of it, washed over him like a warm tide. Mary moved around, filling glasses with the punch she had prepared, her smile a beacon in the growing darkness outside. "To friendship," she said, lifting her own cup as the room echoed a chorus of cheers. The clinking of ceramic mixed with the melodies of laughter, and in that moment, Jake felt solidarity swell among them. Yet beneath the festive veneer, a heaviness still lingered in Jake's chest. As everyone drank, he thought of Mark, of the laughter they had shared, and the dreams they had spoken of in the quiet hours when the world seemed asleep. Would he ever truly move forward without carrying that weight? Matt raised his glass, his voice shaky but strong. "To Mark. The man who would turned this whole gathering into a dance party. Who could forget his awful dance moves?" The laughter was genuine, and for a second, it felt as if Mark were present, twirling his carefree spirit among them. Jake joined in the laughter, imagining Mark's joyful antics bringing life to the room. Yet, with each chuckle, a nagging question crept back in. "Do you think he'd be proud of us?" Jake found himself asking, his voice cutting through the joviality. The laughter softened, replaced by a shared pause. Matt lowered his drink, looking at Jake with a mix of sorrow and hope. "Every day, man. He'd want us to be happy. Then why does it feel like we're only half living?" Jake murmured, startling himself with the honesty of his words. The smile slipped from Matt's face as he pondered the question. "It's hard to let go," Matt replied quietly. "But maybe that's what it means to honor him. Finding our light, moving forward." Jake nodded slowly, feeling the stirring within him. Transformation wasn't instantaneous. It wouldn't happen in a single night or with a toast. It was a journey, one that he wanted to take, one he needed to for both himself and for Mark. "Let's make tonight a promise," Jake said suddenly, his voice firm and resonant. "Let's not let our memories become just shadows of what was. Let's keep Mark's spirit alive, and support each other every step of the way." More cheers arose, the sense of unity growing. As the night wore on, they shared more memories, laughter, and even tears. Jake felt the warmth of hope wrap around him like a blanket. Maybe they could truly transform their pain. As the last remnants of the party began to wind down, a thought flickered in Jake's mind, a deeper commitment to the journey ahead. What would it take to turn this promise into action? Outside the bakery, the night was still, the stars gleaming overhead. Jake stood at the door for a moment, inhaling the crisp air. What lay ahead was uncertain, but with the support of his friends, he wouldn't have to face it alone. But deep down, one question echoed louder than the others: how could they find purpose in their loss and embrace life fully again? With that thought hanging in the air, he stepped back inside, ready to begin their next chapter. The next morning arrived with a soft light filtering through the bakery's windows. Jake woke up with the weight of the night still heavy on his heart, yet there was a flicker of something else: determination. He felt like he had been gifted a new map, one that showed paths he never knew existed. As he prepared for the day, thoughts of the previous night's promise kept circling in his mind. What would it mean to truly honor Mark? He couldn't shake the feeling that change was on the horizon, but how could he coax it into being? He needed to act, not just sit with memories. Jake stepped into the bustling bakery, the familiar scent of fresh bread and brewing coffee wrapping around him like an embrace. Mary was already busy, her hands kneading dough. She looked up and smiled brightly, her energy contagious. "Good morning, sunshine. Ready for another day?" "Definitely," he replied, trying to inject some of that same brightness into his voice. "What's on the agenda today?" "More memories?" she teased, winking. "Actually," Jake hesitated, "I was thinking we might do something a bit different. Something more alive." Mary raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Like what?" "I don't know yet. But we need to embrace what Mark loved. Music, laughter, maybe even a dance party, not just for him but for us. It's time we show ourselves we can live again." She grinned, excitement sparking in her eyes. "Count me in. We could throw a coffee and dance day. Everyone can come, we can even make it a themed event, a celebration of life, you know?" The idea took root. Jake felt adrenaline rush through him. Yes. We can reach out to others, get everyone involved. We could honor him by sharing joy just like he would wanted. Throughout the morning, word spread quickly. Friends and regulars shared glances, smiles growing wider as they bumped into each other in the bakery. The thought of an event focused on living, on simplicity and joy, seemed to resonate. There was a palpable shift, like a spark igniting in each heart. As the day rolled on, Jake and Mary threw ideas back and forth. They brainstormed twists for the event: donut decorating stations, upbeat playlists, maybe even an open mic for anyone feeling brave enough to share a memory or sing a song. By the time the sun dipped low, the seeds of their festivity had flourished into something greater. Wiping his brow after a long day of planning, Jake felt the thrill of hope intertwining with the tender shadow of longing. But something gnawed at him beneath the excitement. What if this endeavor brought them closer to a truth they weren't ready for? That night, as he sat on his couch, uncertainty seeped beneath the surface of his enthusiasm. What if they danced, laughed, but still found themselves facing unbearable emptiness? What if the night rippled with grief rather than joy? Just then, his phone buzzed with a message from Matt. "Ready for the dance party? It'll be our tribute." Jake texted back, ready, but also scared. How do we ensure Mark's memory doesn't become a burden? He hit send, and the weight of those questions sat with him, heavier than any moment before. What if uncovering joy also meant confronting what they'd lost? The tension hung in the air, taut and unresolved, as Jake stared at the screen, wondering if the night ahead would bring answers or more questions in the maze of grief and celebration. The day of the dance party dawned bright and clear. Jake awoke with excitement buzzing in his chest, though the nagging doubts from the night before still lingered at the edges of his mind. He had spent hours visualizing what the celebration might look like, hoping for that perfect blend of joy and remembrance. As he pulled on his favorite shirt, he couldn't help but smile at the thought of everyone gathered together, united in shared love for Mark. The bakery buzzed with an energy that Jake hadn't felt in a long time. Mary had transformed it into a still life of color and festivity. Strings of fairy lights draped from the ceiling, while colorful paper banners flapped gently with the soft breeze from the open windows. The smell of fresh pastries mingled with the robust aroma of coffee, creating an inviting atmosphere that beckoned to all. People started arriving just as the sun began its descent. Friends shuffled in, some bringing homemade treats, donuts in outrageous colors, cupcakes topped with sparkly icing, and even a giant cake shaped like a guitar, a tribute to Mark's beloved hobby. The bakery buzzed with laughter and chatter, warm lights spilling out into the street, drawing in passers-by like moths to a flame. Jake moved through the crowd, greeting familiar faces, feeling the surge of community sweeping through the room. A pair of friends embraced him tightly, their eyes shimmering with unspoken understanding. He felt himself relax a little more, the weight on his chest beginning to lift just a fraction. Mary announced the beginning of the festivities from behind the counter, her voice bursting with enthusiasm. "Welcome, everyone. Tonight we celebrate Mark, his laughter, his love, and the light he brought into our lives. Let us make some memories together, just like he would be wanted." Cheers erupted, and the playlist started to fill the air with upbeat music that wafted like a rising tide, inviting everyone to lose themselves in the rhythm. As the crowd swayed and moved, Jake found himself standing on the sidelines, hesitant. "Simon, Jake!" Matt shouted, pulling him towards the center of it all. "Don't just stand there. Join us." With a shaky breath, he let himself be guided into the rhythm of the music, the beat pounding through him. It was freeing, but also raw. Each groove reminded him of the void that Mark left behind. But still, laughter flowed around him, infectious and real. People began to share stories, both heartfelt and hilarious. As the open mic beckoned them closer, Jake felt a tug towards that mic. A whisper of courage, or perhaps the need to share what had been bottled up for too long. As he stepped forward, heart racing, he glanced at Mary, who offered him a supportive nod from the side. "Hey everyone," he began, his voice shaking slightly. "I just wanted to say how much Mark meant to me, to all of us." He took a deep breath, words flowing now. "He taught me how to laugh, how to love life. He never shied away from being himself. As we celebrate tonight, let us not just think of what we've lost, but what we've gained from knowing him." Applause erupted, and Jake felt a warmth spread through him, the relief of shared grief and celebration wrapped around him like a hug. Yet, just when he thought he was getting the hang of it, a distant sound pierced through the music, a shattering of glass. Panic raced through the crowd as they turned towards the source, their smiles faltering. As Jake watched, a figure emerged from the shadows, a face smudged by chaos. The laughter and joy began to dim, uncertainty creeping back in. Who was this stranger? What did they want? Something deep inside Jake clenched tightly. The joyful night was slipping dangerously close to something darker, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to face something unexpected. What if this night was about to change everything? The room fell silent, every pair of eyes shifting towards the figure. Jake's heartbeat thundered in his ears, drowning out the muffled gasps and whispers that rippled through the crowd. The stranger was cloaked in shadows, but as they stepped into the dim light, Jake's stomach dropped. It was someone he hadn't seen in years, someone he never expected to show up in a moment like this. "Is that really you?" Jake barely whispered, disbelief coating his words. The figure turned, revealing a familiar face, Zoe. They had grown up together, but their paths diverged after Mark's death. Jake felt a whirlwind of emotions crash over him, anger, confusion, and a flicker of hope. Zoe had distanced herself after the tragedy, as if seeking refuge from the pain that still lingered in empty spaces where laughter used to echo. "Jake!" she called, her voice trembling. I am sorry for just barging in like this. I couldn't stay away any longer. I heard about the party." The tension in the atmosphere thickened. People in the crowd exchanged nervous glances, unsure how to react. Some stepped back, while others stood grounded, drawn into the confrontation. Jake looked at her, the silence between them heavy and charged. Zoe's presence radiated turmoil, and he could see signs of distress etched across her features. "I thought you didn't want anything to do with this with us." Jake managed to get out, feeling the wave of memories crashing over him. "Why come back now?" "I wanted to honor Mark, "2," Zoe replied, her voice shaky yet resolute. I couldn't face it. None of it. When I heard tonight was for him, when I saw the lights and felt the joy you all were sharing, I realized I needed to be here." She paused, glancing at the crowd. "I'm not here to ruin anything. I miss him too." Jake's emotions swirled, battling between his lingering resentment and the longing to feel connected again. Everyone in the shop was now watching them, the music and laughter forgotten, replaced by a different kind of tension. Mary stood frozen behind the counter, her eyes darting between them, sensing the shift. "Zoe, you can't just come in like this. You left us when we needed you most," Jake replied, his voice a mere whisper but steady. "You made your choice back then." "I know I did. And I hate myself for it," she snapped back, her frustration bubbling over. "But I'm trying to make it right. I want to celebrate Mark too. He didn't want us to be apart." Jake could see the sincerity in her eyes, the same spark of life that had always drawn him to her. Yet, as fast as he felt his heart softening, doubt gnawed at the edges. Would forgiving her mean reopening old wounds? A soft murmur broke through the quiet as someone from the crowd chimed in. "Where have you been, Zoe? We all lost someone special. You can't just come and go." Her eyes darted around, pleas for understanding and acceptance reflecting in every face. They had shared so many memories. The echoes of laughter on summer nights, the dreams of the future that had vanished like whispers. Now, they stood as strangers tangled in unresolved pain and shared loss. "I came here tonight because I want to reconnect with everyone, with you. I want to find a way to move forward." Zoe stepped closer, vulnerability in her voice. "For Mark's sake." The atmosphere thrummed with unresolved tension. Jake felt a river of emotions surging through him, the past colliding with the present in the most chaotic of ways. Could they truly find a way to mend broken bonds in the shadow of grief? "Let us hear her out," someone in the crowd finally said, breaking the silence. It was Mary. "Maybe tonight's meant for more than just remembering, maybe it's also about healing." Jake took a deep breath, wrestling with the tide of emotions and memories. Could he really let go of the hurt? The night wasn't over yet, and perhaps it held more than he expected. Could this unexpected turn become their path towards forgiveness? As he gazed into Zoe's eyes, searching for answers, Jake realized the dance wasn't just about celebrating Mark, it could also be about discovering something new, something uncharted. But what would it take for him to truly open his heart again? Jake's pulse raced, a fierce inner struggle playing out as he stared at Zoe. The crowd felt distant, a swirling sea of murmurs lost to the chaos in his mind. Time seemed to stretch, and the bittersweet memories of shared laughter and carefree days rushed at him like a tidal wave. It was almost overwhelming, the connection he felt in that moment despite all that had passed. Zoe's voice dropped to a murmur. "Please, don't shut me out. I need you to understand." She stepped closer, a breath away, and the vulnerability in her eyes sent a jolt through him. Despite his frustrations, a small part of him ached to bridge the gap, to hold on to that flickering hope that this encounter could be different. The night was meant to honor Mark, but wasn't it also about healing? "Understand what, Zoe? That you left us alone? You broke the bond we all shared when it mattered the most," he said, unable to keep the hurt from spilling out. "You can't just waltz back in and act like it never happened." The emotion in her expression deepened, the hint of tears threatening to spill over. "I know I can't change the past. I've carried the weight of my absence every day. It's taken me this long to find the courage to come back. I need to face the truth." From behind, Mary shifted uncomfortably, watching the two of them. The crowd was still, eyes darting back and forth, captivated and anxious. The room felt like it was pressing in on Jake, and he had to remind himself to breathe. "Look, Zoe, I want to understand," he said, the fight in him simmering down just a notch. "But it's not that simple. You don't get to just return as if we're all supposed to forget the pain you left behind." He could nearly see the gears turning in her mind, the battle she faced. "It wasn't my intention to hurt you, any of you. I was lost. But sitting back and watching everyone cope without me was worse. Her voice cracked. I missed you all so much. I didn't know how to deal with it. As Jake held her gaze, a strange mix of sympathy and frustration washed over him. Do you really think that stepping back into our lives means it will all magically go back to how it was? I don't expect that, she said quickly. I just want the chance to try, to reconnect. Because friendship and love don't disappear overnight. Mark wouldn't have wanted us to be like this. He loved us, all of us. Her words resonated, stirring something deep in Jake. It wasn't just about resentment or pain, it was about healing, about cherishing what Mark had valued most. But even so, doubt nipped at his heels. As the tension lived on, Zoe took another hesitant step closer, her palm outstretched. I'm not asking for forgiveness, only for an opportunity to change things, she whispered, vulnerability shining in her eyes. Can we at least talk? Can we remember him together? He hesitated, wrestling with his emotions. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, gazing into the unknown abyss below. Could revisiting their bond mean facing a storm, one that might swallow him whole? Or could it lead them to the light? The murmurs from the crowd hung thick in the air as Jake considered her outstretched hand, a pivotal moment pulsing around them. Could he find the strength within himself to allow her back in? A reconciliation for Mark's memory, a chance to rebuild, but at what cost? With his heart pounding, Jake felt the world slip away. The choice loomed larger than ever. As he reached out, uncertainty clung like a fog, wrapping around him. But just as their fingers brushed, a loud crash echoed from the back of the room, drawing everyone's attention. Who or what had interrupted this fragile moment? Jake's heart sank, knowing that whatever it was might change everything again. Jake spun around, adrenaline surging through him. The crowd gasped collectively, the previously tense atmosphere shifting to one of alarm. He could feel his heart hammering in his chest as he struggled to comprehend what had just shattered the fragile moment he and Zoe were trying to reclaim. A table had toppled over at the far end of the hall, scattering plates and drinks. Glass glinted dangerously as the audience focused on the source of the noise, a disheveled man, his face flushed and eyes wild, eyes darting as if searching for someone. Mark. The man bellowed, breathless. Mark. Where are you? The name echoed around the room, and Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Was this a cruel twist of fate? For a moment, he thought it was just a drunken outburst, but the desperation in the man's voice sent a jolt of confusion through him. Jake, do you know him? Mary whispered, clutching her drink tightly, concern etched across her face. Uncertainty danced in the air as the crowd shifted, whispering, exchanging looks, trying to piece together what was happening. No, I don't think so, Jake replied, his voice barely above a whisper. But something deep inside him twisted. He couldn't shake the feeling that this moment meant more. Mark. The man stumbled forward, knocking aside a chair as he advanced. I need to talk to Mark. It's about the car. Jake's heart thudded heavily. Memories of Mark flashed before him, laughing, joking, the late-night car rides that seemed silly at the time. The man's words spiraled into the murky depths of his grief, and he found himself swimming in uncertainty about what was happening. Hey! Jake shouted, his voice cutting through the crowd. What do you want with Mark? The man stopped, his face suddenly sorry and worn, as if he'd just stepped out of a nightmare. I didn't mean to crash the party. He hesitated, looking more haunted than loud. I lost my job last week. We were supposed to meet, and I just need to sort things out. The crowd buzzed with confusion, whispers growing louder. Jake didn't know whether to feel anger at the man's intrusion or sympathy for the pain etching into his features. Was this what life meant? Third chances disguised as chaos? Mark's not here, Zoe said softly, her earlier fire now replaced by a different pain. He passed away. The man's eyes widened, his face paling. What? The word hung in the air, the reality crashing down around him like the debris from the fallen table. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Jake and Zoe anymore. It was about everything they had lost. The way grief twisted lives and reality, leaving them to navigate storms that seemed unrelenting. The man's presence, fraught with longing, seemed to collide with their own heartaches. The crowd shifted again, uncertainty swirling, eyes eager for resolution. And now, Jake stood at yet another crossroad, feeling the weight of this moment, the painful memories pressing in. "Maybe," Jake began, his voice steadying. "Maybe we can help each other. Talk about Mark together. For him." Zoe glanced at him, surprise mingling with gratitude. As Jake looked back at the man who cried out Mark's name, a flicker of understanding ignited in his chest. Would sharing their grief forge a new bond in the darkest of times? But just then, another crash came from the kitchen, a loud crash that echoed far too similar to the first. Anxiety prickled his nerves. Whatever was unraveling tonight felt like it was growing larger, beyond his control. What would they discover next, amidst the chaos? Would they find healing, or only more questions in the shadows of loss? The chaos deepened around Jake as the second crash resonated like a harbinger of impending doom. But with all the commotion swirling in the bakery, something stirred within him, a determination to find clarity amongst the confusion. He stepped forward, urging the crowd to settle down. "Everyone, let us calm down. We're here to remember Mark and come together. That's what tonight is about." As the tension in the room lessened, Jake took a deep breath. He focused on the man who had called out for Mark, feeling a strange connection in their shared grief. "Can you tell us who you are and how you knew Mark?" he asked, his voice steady even as his heart beat wildly. The man swallowed hard, his face still pale. "I'm Nathan. I worked with Mark at the auto shop. We were best friends." Each word came out haltingly, revealing the vulnerability behind his bravado. "He was supposed to be here tonight. We had plans," but then he looked away, the regret heavy upon him. Zoe shifted next to Jake, her eyes softening at the display of raw emotion. "You came looking for Mark because you cared," she said softly. "Just like us." Nathan nodded, eyes shimmering with unspent tears. "I kept telling him we'd figure things out together. That we wouldn't let life tear us apart." But his voice broke, and he wrapped his arms around himself as if trying to gather the pieces of his shattered heart. The crowd, once anxious, absorbed the truth of shared loss. This was no longer just a party, it had morphed into an unexpected gathering of souls connected by grief. Suddenly, the sound of the bakery door swung open, and in walked Mary, holding a tray of freshly baked scones, a look of surprise plastered on her face when she saw the commotion. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. "Just learning about Mark and the impact he had on all of us," Jake replied, gesturing to Nathan. "Nathan worked with him." Mary placed the tray on the counter, moving to stand beside Jake. "Is that so? Mark's light really touched many lives." "Yes," Nathan whispered, his face reflected both pain and acceptance. "I just felt lost after he was gone. I thought tonight would be our time to reconnect." Jake sensed a shift in the room, connections were beginning to form amidst their sorrow. "Nathan, you are not alone. We all felt the void he left. But perhaps, in our stories, we can still bring him here tonight, even if only in memory." "Yeah," someone from the back shouted, words bursting forth, emboldened by the gathered spirit. "Let us share our memories of him." Encouraged, Nathan raised his head, his vulnerability slowly transforming into courage. Mark had this way of making every problem feel small. He believed laughter was the best tool. "One time, we spent the whole night trying to fix an engine and pretty much ended up just sitting on it, telling jokes." Laughter erupted from the crowd, a wave of warmth surging as others began to share their tales too. One by one, voices merged, weaving a tapestry of memories. Piecing together fragments from each shared moment of joy, the bakery breathed a new life, rekindling the essence of Mark. As Jake stepped back and let the chatter swell around him, he found comfort, watching Zoe join in with the memories, sharing her own anecdotes, laughter intermingling with sorrow. It felt like healing. In that moment, Jake understood. Life didn't have to be separate from grief, it could be woven into it. He felt empowered by the collective voice, a community returning to one another, even if under unexpected circumstances. The resounding joy began to shelter them, wrapping them in warmth. Somehow, under the glow of golden lights and lingering aromas, they were learning to laugh again. As the chaos subsided and old wounds started to mend, Jake felt his heart lighten. Redeeming memories flowed freely, each conversation becoming a bridge toward discovery. And so, he took a step forward, feeling more grounded and secure in the present. With the music softly playing in the backdrop, Jake glanced at Mary, who beamed with pride as weavers of their shared life gathered around. How about we carry Mark's spirit into every future gathering? Make this part of who we are? He suggested, and cheers erupted in response. As Jake stood among friends old and new found all connected through shared laughter, tears, and memories, hope coursed through him like lifeblood. They would journey on together, allowing Mark's memory to live on, not just in loss, but as a celebration of life itself. The door swung slightly, flutters of wind echoing their newfound promise. "Let us do it for Mark," Jake shouted, and for the first time, he no longer felt confined by his past, he felt free. And just like that, as laughter burst forth once more, they began crafting a new destiny. Together, now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending, your thoughts matter. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Together, let us keep this community thriving.